Delaware County. I would suggest that all members here, please locate your case management, your social work department of any agency you go to. You will find that they have a plethora of resources available. I also have worked with foster parents who have received services. And also with the bilingual aspect, I used to try very hard to locate a translator, and they are supposedly available in our county, in our state, free of charge.
One of the things about being a resource parent also, they had certain kind of, I think there were requirements, but they also offered like a lot of training. So if you had like, you needed job training, you needed some kind of medical, you needed help finding something, especially assistance, getting help to take care of and things like that. But yeah, they had a lot of resources for basic training on how to handle certain kinds of kids if you need special needs, if you want to take care of a special needs kid. So yeah, a lot of good stuff there too.
Even though you do not have to be a shelter resident, many shelters offer free health screenings.
Thank you. So I just wanted to also highlight that there are many ways we're thinking about health services, and some of them are working well, or at least the case managers, the one-on-one, some of the resources that are available are working. So I wanted to ask again, we're going to start wrapping up, but what has been your experiences seeking health services?
As you are thinking about your experiences in the Liberian community, I am a member of the Liberian community. We are very politically astute, and we value the political system here. And so just arriving is the former president of the Liberian Association of Pennsylvania and the current president of United Nimba Association.
In America whatsoever, right?
So Honorable Don Dennis, we want to welcome you. We served many years with his under his leadership. We said thank you for coming, and of course we have the current vice president of the Liberian Association here, Ms. Aisha Bolu Howard. Thank you. Again, Mr. Kaplan had talked about health information, so I know we were thinking a little bit, and we just have to pick that up.
So I think right afterwards, I think a little more in a smaller group, there's another story about accessing Medicaid, Medicare, but we will do that in a smaller group right afterwards. Thank you. So we were asking in general, what is your experiences getting appointments, going to doctors, your whole experience getting health services in Delaware County? Has it been good? Are the hospitals working for us? Are they not working? Are there enough doctors? All these experiences that you've been having, we'd like to hear about them.
Before we talk about experiences, in order to go to get that service, it's because something happened, correct? Something's happening that's not right. We think we are sick. And so when we go to get that service, we're not even thinking I'm going to get service. We're thinking I'm going to the doctor to get treatment. Is that correct? Right? We're going to get service for the doctor. No, I'm going for treatment. So treatment is another word, or service is another word when we say treatment. So when you go to the doctor to get that treatment, some of you say you go to the hospital, some say you go to the nurses. Bill is asking, what is that like? And someone talking about cultural, maybe we don't only go to the doctor, we go to a friend and for something else. So Bill is saying, what is that like? But don't just think doctor, think the Zoe from Liberia or someone in the Latino, Hispanic community that may not have that pill from the doctor, but they got some really beautiful lotion. When they put it on your skin, it will take care of that pain. But when you think about all of those things.
So tell us a little bit about your experiences, and then we'll...
Now, Mr. George, we're giving you 1 minute in the interest of time. We love you, but we're going to give you no more than 1 minute. Okay, half minute. Thank you.
You see, America is very deep.
Yeah.
Very, very deep. Because the doctor doesn't know the doctor. But why is the doctor when making reference that he not able to take the case? Why he can't explain to you better to tell you that I'm not able to do it, but you go to the specialist? Why?
Right. So, thank you, Mr. George. So going to a doctor and trying to ask him questions, but not getting a good reply and not knowing what to do. Let's hear, yes.
The next thing is the doctor got away. He will ask all the questions and they collect all the medicine. Then they, with all the insurance, what you got, they tell you your insurance can't get it one. Your insurance can't get it one. So I don't care how much insurance you got, they will not get it.
So when you say your insurance, that means that the insurance can cover the medicine you're supposed to get? Oh, okay. So even though you may have insurance, the insurance will not be able to cover the medicine. That's what my papa said. They say your insurance can't get it one. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so one of the questions we're thinking about is, do you feel comfortable going to the clinic or going to the hospital? Because I know a lot of our people sometimes have concern of going to the hospital instead of going to the clinic. Do you feel comfortable of going to the clinic or going to the hospital? Emergency room.
Yeah, the reason is they do not understand. One more is clinic and one more is hospital. What they do, so you have to make it expensive.
Okay, I know he said some people don't understand the hospital and the clinic. So the clinic is just going right there where you see a doctor, where you have the small facility, and the hospital is the big facility that you go into the emergency room. So do you feel comfortable going to the clinic or going to the hospital?
Well, I take my mom to a clinic because she feels more comfortable there. There are Spanish-speaking people there, so I don't take her to the hospital around here. And I take her to Norristown.
All the way in Norristown. Anybody? Clinic or hospital?
The clinics I mentioned before are clinics in Philadelphia, and they're very good. All the patients, all our community that have received services there are always very happy with the way they're being treated, the treatments, everything, and they're very low cost. So people that don't have insurance are able to afford being seen, and they also offer many other services, not just medical service. So they have a social worker, and they have other facilities, amenities that their patients can take advantage of. So although they're clinics, you know, their service is very good.
Ms. Rossley, I know you had a comment to make.
Okay, what I've been seeing is that in the Liberian community, most of us, I don't know if there's any healthcare center in the Delaware County area here that we now have in Chester. So most of the people, Liberians that live in Darby and Upper Darby, tend to go to Philadelphia Health Center. And then if you go to the health center and you don't have insurance, they're not going to treat you. Right? In most cases, because most of the people don't have the money to pay up front. So, and then they will not get treatment. So they will be turned away. You know, so it costs most people to then change addresses just to make sure to get treatments. That's some of the things that we face. The second thing is that the lack of cultural education with the people at the front desk, the way in which they treat the immigrant population, they treat them with disrespect. And at one point in time, I got involved, and we were able to establish a meaningful kind of a setting at one of the health centers in Philadelphia, where Liberian, the leadership was represented, you know, there to make sure that the immigrant population, Liberian population, were treated, you know, fairly. Those are some of the things that we see happening outside of Delaware Center. But Chester is far from the Liberian community, so we don't, you know, take advantage of that. So the way in which the services being provided outside of Delaware County is what I just shared with you. But then when it comes to the difference between the hospital visit and the clinic visit, the clinic visit has to do with appointments. And appointments are made almost like every 3 months or 6 months. And sometimes our people, our families, our senior citizens don't have the time or patient to wait. So we then take them most of the time by our ambulances and take to the hospitals directly. So those are the challenges that we face too in the Latin community that I see. So I want to share that as well.
Mr. President, you are a resident of Delaware County, correct? Darby, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Roslyn Gray. I'm originally from Liberia, West Africa. I'm just here to talk to you all on some of the experiences I personally have had in this country concerning the health clinics. Years ago, my first experience in this country was with the Ebola crisis. I was sent to the hospital because I have pain in my knee. This is some of the reasons why I don't go hospital. I have pain in my knee. And when I got to the hospital, the first thing the doctor told me to go and register. After that, they told me to go upstairs to see the doctor. I went to see the doctor upstairs. The moment she saw me, she asked me, "Have you ever been to Liberia lately?" I said, "No." "Have you ever been around anyone with Ebola?" I said, "No." Right away, she told me, she said, as a matter of fact, she told the nurse to take my temperature. When the nurse took my temperature, I don't know what kind of machine she used. She told the doctor that my temperature was 101. I never had fever, wasn't sick, only knee healthy. So when she told the doctor that my temperature was 101, the doctor came in the room and started asking me all these little questions about the Ebola crisis. If I went to Liberia lately, blah, 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 blah. Then she told me, she said, "I want you to sit in the room here. I will be right back." That doctor had me in the room for an hour, sitting down waiting. Only to find out that she went and called the Ebola crisis people to come and pick me up from the clinic to take me to the Ebola place in Pennsylvania hospital. This is a true story. So when the paramedic came to pick me up, the doctor said, "I will not take you right away. Let me take your temperature myself." He took my temperature. I never had no fever. So he asked her, "Where did you take? What kind of machine you use for temperature?" He said, "This machine." The doctor uses the paramedic uses the same machine to take my temperature. I had no fever. That traumatized me for I don't know how many months. I'm not joking, y'all. I was so traumatized. Because of that, I told myself, I said, for me to go hospital in this country, it would be very hard. I decided, because all of my life in this country, I have been going to herbalists. I believe in herbalists. The doctors, the herbal doctor, when all I do, go to the doctor twice a year for my checkup. If anything wrong, I go to her, she gives me my herbs, I take it, I'm good to go. That's right. Because of that, and whenever I pass by that hospital, I'm not joking you, whenever I pass by that hospital, it always gave me a flashback. Because the nurses, the doctors, they all were running for me when they were getting ready to take me to the Ebola crisis clinic. I said, "What is this? What is this? What are you talking about?" So you have to go because we noticed that you have Ebola. This is the Ebola patient still living. You know Ebola, you don't live, right? But I'm still living because I know I never had Ebola. And because of that, I told myself for me to go to hospital in this country would be very, very hard. Yeah. Very hard. Okay.
Ms. Roslyn, we want to say thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate that you were able to share that with us. Ms. Roslyn talked about something else. She used the word, she said, "I was traumatized." Anybody heard that? Oh, I was the only person that heard that. So let's talk, before we talk about mental health, right? So when we think about what Ms. Rasson said, Ms. Rasson, when you said you were traumatized, what did you mean by that? Just 2 seconds.
Traumatized means I was so afraid, scared. When I'm sleeping at night, or I imagine the nicest running from me. Running from me, something I will wake up in the night, I can't go back to bed because of that.
Your mind was depressed.
There you go. Now, this is so critical because many of us that are here are immigrants from different countries. And many of us coming as immigrants from different countries also come from countries where there was war, civil war. And if we were to tell our stories here, we will not leave, or it will be too much. We'll all start crying together. So we bottle a lot of that stuff inside of us. And then when something happens that makes it come to the surface, it can be very difficult. And so when Ms. Roslyn talked about the Ebola, and she talked about waking up at night or having nightmares of people running away from her, we all have to take that seriously. So in Delaware County, there is a place. I don't know if anybody talking about mental health, if anyone sitting down here ever had to go to this place. It's a county office because something was not right mentally. They felt sad. They felt depressed. Somebody, Martinez said, I was stressed out. Hawa said, I was traumatized. And they had to go and speak to someone there about what they were feeling because it was making them to feel unwell. Has anybody ever had that experience before? You don't have to put your hand up, but is there something that has happened to us, we think? Okay, there is this big office. It's called Office of Behavioral Health in Delaware County. Anybody heard the name of that office before? Nobody in there. So when we feel traumatized, we'll be, as the way it says how I said it, or depressed or sad or stressed, have we ever gone to talk to a social worker or to that big word called counselor? There's another big word they call therapist, but we're not calling that big word. Another word that sometimes we say counselor. Anybody has ever had to go there or experience that? So, no, yes.
My neighbor had a teenage son who was, all of a sudden he just started acting out. He locked her in the house. He was about 16. He locked her in the house. He tried to jump out of the window. He did all kinds of things. And she said, something is wrong with my son, please help me. We tried to get him treatment. And they didn't want to give her, this is an American-born woman, they didn't want to treat her son because the cost was too high. And mental. She needed help with her son immediately because she was afraid that he was going to harm himself. And we were there at Children's Hospital until 3 in the morning when finally they sent a transport to admit him to a facility. They tried everything possible to deny her treatment. And the woman had medical coverage. But they didn't want to, it was much more expensive than just going in for, say, a physical ailment. Mental health services are very difficult to get. Many of you don't realize, but some years ago there was a woman went to Springfield Mall, and she shot people in Springfield Mall right around Halloween. And her mother said, "Why are you all looking at me? I tried to get services for my daughter, and they wouldn't give it to her, and it ended up with her daughter having a shooting rampage in Springfield Mall." So when you're talking mental health services, that is one of the most difficult services you can get, even if you have sterling insurance. Good evening. My name is Bosu Chana. That's a good point because I have an older son who went to the Navy, and when he came back home, he was having some issues. But for some reason, he did not want to deal with the Navy for any help. And I didn't want to pursue him. He did not want to deal with the military. He did. He was like, Mommy, I ain't going to no military facility. I'm not talking to no military person. I'm not going to be bothered. I don't know what happened there that he did not want to be bothered, but I wanted to respect that. But I still knew that my child needed some help. And we tried to get help, and it was either, oh, you're a veteran, you can go there. So we see you here because you're a military person, and that's not what he wanted. He didn't want to go there. He wanted something different. And at the end of the day, he got counseled by my pastor, my assistant pastor, who worked with the city of Philadelphia, is a counselor in the foster care system. So my pastor ended up counseling him. And you know, pretty much after I talked to my pastor to see that I couldn't get help, and he was from Philadelphia, and he worked in Philadelphia, he was like, listen, that's a member, so I'll take him under my wings, and I'll do his counseling, and they made their schedule, and they did it, and he was comfortable with it. And, you know, so I don't know what's going on, but sometimes it's kind of difficult. And both the therapists and our community both need to be educated. There's just a lack of education. They are used to everybody else walking into a therapist, but for a Liberian, for an African, especially a Liberian from where I've come, walk into your office and tell you, I need some help with my hair, they really need some help of you their last resort. Because the first thing they will tell you, I'm crazy. From marriage counseling to physical therapy, they say, okay, I need help to walk. But to psychiatrists, to psychologists, it's considered a complete breakdown. So when they walk into your office, the reception tells you whether they will come back or not. And because we are not educated, most of the therapists around here are not educated to that because they are used to having their citizens, so they are used to a culture and a lifestyle, so they haven't learned to be diverse when it comes to treatment and handling certain things. They just throw it across the board. And I think each person should realize that there ought to be a need for individualized treatment.
Sis Portia, before I give the microphone. So let me tell you, I work, I'm a master level social worker. So we have a lot of cases of kids in Upper Darby. A lot of times, sometimes we recommend those kids, sometimes we say go to Sis Portia because she the multicultural center, this center. So sometimes we recommend it and say go there. And one of the reasons is our kids will not just go and talk to people. They have to be comfortable. They have to know that you will be able to, keep whatever secret they tell you and stuff. So they are not open, especially in the Liberian community, they are not open to just go and seek help. So some of them, when we send them here, they are able to get help through the multicultural center. But it's a severe need. Even our former president here, Don, we've been having those needs in the community. Some family will have, like the kids will have severe depression and in the house and they can't get out. Sometimes they will call him and he will say, okay, if it is a female client, he will say, go and talk to them. And if the case is severe, because they will not go out there to get the help, so I would say go to Sis Portia because they are comfortable and it's the same, African and Liberian here, so they will talk to them. But most of the facility here is not able, they don't have that diverse, like she's talking about, they don't have that diverse population or therapists to be able to handle our kids. So most times we use Sis Portia and she has been doing very well.
Thank you. So what we're hearing is that culturally, and Ms. Bosu said that, and so did our VP here, Africans were not comfortable going to get support for mental health. Is that what we're hearing? Okay. Just quickly, and I'm going to go to Ms. Patterson, who has some comments. Is that how many of us in this room know about people in our community? Wherever you are representing your community today, Nigerian, Ghanaian, African American, Spanish speaking, anywhere in the community, that we know of people who, as Bosso said, they're suffering, but they're not comfortable going there. Or maybe they try to go for mental health, and the people didn't want to listen to them. By just a show of hands, how many of us know of people with either in our own family or our community who have these things?
Yep.
And this is mental health, right?
Yep.
We're not even talking physical health, right? How many, and we already said many people here didn't even know of where to go, the Office of Behavioral Health, which is right here on 69th Street, one of the offices, or some of their clinics, Northwest Human Services, and we can make some of those parking lots. We don't know. And because we don't know, we suffer silently. Would you say? Right? Or sometimes too scared to seek help because we want people to tell us we're crazy. Is that, I'm hearing yes, yes. So how can having a public health service center in Delaware County, or what we just said about the public health services, the mental health, how do you think that is connected to public health services in Delaware County? Just think about it quickly because one of our functioning elder representative, elder voice here has something to say. Ms. Patterson.
Okay, everyone. I know we've been talking for a long time, but it's really, really important for us to get this information because we need our voices heard. I am a community member of Delaware County. I'm also a social worker that works within Delaware County here at Multicultural and doing work with women, children, and families. So a lot of times my big mouth with just me by myself, and I have a big mouth when necessary. Advocacy is what I love to do when necessary, respectfully, of course. But I really sometimes feel like I'm by myself when I'm advocating for not only my clients, the population I serve, and also my community. So I want to, we're really trying to gather, as you know, as much information as possible so that they can carry it back to our lawmakers, to decision makers. In my case, when I go to certain community members and have the I don't want to say honor because, honor of being amongst medical professionals and sharing your experience and what I observed as well from my own personal experience, which hasn't always been great. So with that being said, I'm asking you just to take a deep breath because we're almost at the home stretch and help me. I'm a stranger, but I'm under the hut. So that means that I'm family, that we are family. And I don't want to seem like when I'm going to carry this information that it's just me. So is anyone else willing to share an experience that they've had trying to access health services, whether it's physical health services or emotional support services here in the county?
It's even harder for our community that is undocumented to get services, especially mental health services. We had a young lady in our community who was suicidal, and it was such a trauma to try to get her help because nobody would help her because she was undocumented. She didn't have a social security number. So if you think it's hard to get help, mental help, just think about those people who unfortunately do not have the proper documentation and they desperately need help, mental help. It's almost impossible to get.
Thank you so much. We are down the stretch. The plan is we'll be ending at 6:30. At 8:30, we're almost done. We're just going to have a conversation about one of these, about suggestions that you have to improve services in Delaware County. We want to hear from you. What suggestions that you think Hopkins can you can give the Hopkins representative, Bloomberg School public health representatives, so that they can take it back to the county, because that is so important. And after we have a conversation around that, then we're going to, invite Hopkins representatives to provide some comments, which I think probably they may be interested in doing, or maybe not, but just want to provide an opportunity for that. So very quickly, we have a comment here. Again, we'll talk about suggestions to improve public health services in Delaware County.
Good evening to all. My name is James Christian Watt Sr. I am an executive of LRTN Network. I want to express my appreciation for being here, and I want to inform you that one of the ways to propagate information about all of the things that have been said here is to use this network more often. This is going to make the information available to more people. This is a free network service for the community. If you're having any events, inform us and we will be there. We are here to make sure that your voices are heard. This is a big world, diverse, multicultural environment, and so it is our privilege and a great pleasure to provide this service to you free of charge as our contribution to the community, and to make sure that all of the things that you're going through are heard by the authorities. When the spotlight is on, the authorities seem to listen and take action expeditiously. So again, I want to encourage you to use this network more often, and I thank you very much for allowing us to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And, yes.
Okay, I think as Dr. Portia said, we are almost at the end of the stretch line. Okay, that's it. Okay, but I would like to suggest that one of the purpose of this palava hub is to gather information actually. So this is an information seeking. But I think from what I can gather here tonight, there are some roadblocks. It will be in terms of language, it will also be in terms of culture. So my recommendation is that in the future that we should try to advocate not only to seek information, but we have to be part of the process. You see, either from the top or from the bottom. But if we are represented at the top there where it is, we have a voice there, and our people will be more inclined to cater to our people, because that's what it is. Sometimes you go halfway and instead of going on top, they say, you know what, this guy is from another culture, or I think he might not qualify, and they don't go the extra mile. And that's what we actually need. We need commitment from the top management. I mean, from top to bottom. I think we'll do that. We'll have voice on the council. We'll have voice on the board, and I think we'll be able to reach our people more in terms of mental health. That's one of my recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other recommendations, suggestions?
Yes, so Dr. Lamine talked about participation, right? Thank you.
And being part of the process.
Being part of the process.
My name is Amelia Grimo. My thing is, we need education. It's not only here I have heard this. Where I work, I've heard that also. Because America has become very diversified, whether they want to accept it or not. We are here. The doctors, if we can get some of those doctors to come to meetings like this, so they can hear what our people are saying, so they can know how to deal with our people. And our people also need to reach out. There are resources, there are Liberian resources that can give them information also to be able to reach the doctors they need to see and to go to places that they need to go. But we need to be educated, and the people here need to be educated also. I remember when I came here, the BCG, the vaccine they give, a lot of doctors were giving the Liberians the vaccine for TB when we didn't need it. I met a doctor, he was white, and he said he worked in a third world country before. And he told me, he said, you don't need to take it. He told me, he said, don't ever take it. He said, take my card. I never took it. Whenever I went to him, he did blood work. He said, you can find it all through blood work. My agent said they didn't want to receive it. They asked me for a copy of the blood work. And he said, you don't have to do it. But some of them not educated to that. But he had worked in third world country, so he knew what was happening. So we need to educate our people, and these doctors need to come out. They need to be educated also. Because if they don't come to these meetings, they won't know what our people are saying. Some of us go to the hospital, they don't even understand what we're saying.
Okay, we have somebody here.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moore. And in the interest of full disclosure, Mrs. Moore is my oldest sister. So I just want to put it out there. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Medeiros Jackson, and I hear talks of participation and advocacy and education, but all those things are great. But also it's the willpower actually going to the people versus having the people come to you. By that meaning having pop-up service fairs or pop-up clinicals in those places that need the services versus having people come out, because not a lot of people can travel to actually make it to these doctor's visits or any of the sort. So going to the people versus having the people come to you would be a great, great change and effective.
That means that with our community also, our community leaders need to reach out maybe to these hospitals and work with them also. Not only the hospitals, but a lot of places. There's a problem. Communication is a problem for us. And some of us coming from different backgrounds, we came here at different times. And there's a big communication problem. Even in the white folks is there. It's big. We just seen it from the small picture, but it's really big.
All right,
All right, I think you guys are both hitting it on the nail. As we look to set up some in Delaware County. I'm coming from California. I've been out here for about probably 5 months. Observation to me, I don't see as many facilities. The one thing that I do see when I come here is a facility that try to include a lot of cultures. Back there, it's more spread out. There's not one thing that says, let's bring the whole community together. And I'm from the Bay Area where it is very together out there. But as he's trying to set up something, one thing that I did notice during all of this, he said something about social platforms. You're saying it's on our community. Another person that said something about they're sending people out. So we need something competitive. Something that's competitive that makes people aware that our health system over here is very good. We can get the access, the information, the knowledge. We can have these social events, things like this that include the community. And like he said, go out to them, reach out. There should be no reason when something like this is happening that we're trying to get people from 69th Street over here. You guys are part of this community too. Come down to this Palava Hut meeting. What do you think? Your voice can be heard. So I really like her 2 points, and I think just having something that's competitive as you're setting up your platform would be a very good thing.
And then I would recommend too having, like you talked about facility, I would recommend having a clinic here in Delaware County because our people are going to Philadelphia, they are going to Chester, they can't drive there, they can't get there. So I would recommend us having our own clinic in Delaware County. If it's Upper Darby, if it's Darby, or anywhere in Delaware County, but not Chester because Chester is far away, but we need something here so we can stop running to Philadelphia.
I know that. A quick question. How many of you, either yourself or know of someone who has gone to Chester to access the public health clinic there? Anybody? Mr. Dola, what did you go there for? And what did they, and just quickly, why did you go there?
Well, I went paying my bullet and I went there.
Did they treat you?
Yeah, they treated me.
What did they give you?
They gave me pill.
They gave you pill. Okay. Anybody else has ever gone there because their children needed to get immunization to go to the doctor? To go to school? So what did you go there for?
Well, to do physical for the kids.
Did they do the physical for the children?
They did, but it takes very long. You gotta sit for hours and hours, so it just...
Okay. All right. And we could continue, but we do not have the time. We want to say thank you so much. I hope that this has been as meaningful for you as it has been for me. But before we do the final wrap up, we really want to listen to any comments, any feedback that you would like to share. The representatives of Johns Hopkins, Bedford.
Thank you all. This was an honor and a privilege to be here, and I have to tell you, I didn't mention before, I was one of the researchers on the first report that Hopkins did for Delaware County in 2009. And so now we're coming back here, now it's 2020, I forgot. And the whole time, so I've spent a lot of time in Delaware County, and no one ever gave me a quarter, first of all. And I don't think anyone opened their hearts in the same way that you all have done for us tonight. So we really, really appreciate it, and I think you've opened our hearts as well. But one last question I do have is, if somebody mentioned a little bit about, I think you did, about the power and the new county council, and that's what we're here to share your voice with them. So if anyone has any other last things that they would want to share, thinking about directly with the new county council, please let us know if anyone has any other comments.
Now remember, Delaware County has a new council, all Democrats.
So I'm hearing a need for all of these services in the community. This is a unique opportunity to partner with such a reputable institution such as Johns Hopkins to have a dynamic approach to how we handle mental health and other issues. What do I mean by this? I see we're all in this gathering this evening trying to find solutions. So one of the things that we can do is we can come together with the kinds of services and how we want them to be performed to establish the kind of institution in this environment, working in collaboration with Johns Hopkins to have mental health services and other services coordinated either through the efforts of grants or loans or other assistance, so you can have your own facility and have a new approach. That way, at a certain time, staff and other medical personnel can go in a community or certain part of the community and engage them instead of them coming. Maybe every so often, the objective would be for a certain group of professionals to go in the community and say, listen, we're going to be here next week. Everybody that have this problem, we're going to be here next week. And that would be a routine to service the community, to reach out to the people. And so if we came together and really put a proposal together that will bring a different approach and some kind of unorthodox approach, that we don't have to all go to the hospital at a particular time, where you'll be on a waiting list, a long waiting list. We can have our own facilities with the kind of rules that say, listen, this time we're coming to this community to service the people. So everybody be here, be there at this time, or we can tailor it to our specific need to address some of what I'm hearing here tonight. So maybe we should look into another meeting to see how we can get the kind of sponsorship financially to establish our own institution and make it work in a multicultural, diverse environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just quickly, maybe it's me, but am I hearing when you talk about another meeting, because what Beth said was, what message do you have for the council people? The people in power who makes the laws, the rules, the regulations. What can they tell them from tonight, from this meeting? So when you say have another meeting, are you talking about the council people should come and host a meeting with the diverse population?
Briefly, the sponsors of this program this evening can come together. You don't have to have, you can have a consensus that will meet the officials of the county and say, listen, this is how we feel. These are the things that we want to address for our people. Our people have limited access to all of these amenities. So we want you to come together with us and establish the kind of institution that will make our people more comfortable to come. So these are the kind of things we want you to bring to their attention.
Thank you so much, Ms. Patterson. And we would have wrapped this up, Bill, but we want to, yes, thank you. Ms. Patterson?
People in academic institutions always have more meetings. So the fact that you said another meeting made me laugh. But there actually is going to be another meeting. But we are not going to be there because our study will be done. But the county council is going to have they're calling it a town hall. I know we shouldn't call it town hall. But what's the foundation?
Foundation for Delaware County.
The Foundation for Delaware County. So that's the first one. Then you guys got to have more meetings. But maybe you have to have them at a palava hut. But the county council really does want to hear. This is money. Your money. Back to the census. Fill out the census. They're going to be spending their money, and they want to spend it in the right way. You guys got to make sure you have a voice at the table to tell them what they need. And what you're saying is actually not that different from what we've heard in other parts of the county about mental health services and access. So the message has been very similar throughout the county. So keep it up. Keep on talking. Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Ms. Patterson, and then we'll wrap up. Oh, Doc? I can't say no to Doc.
So one message that they need to hear is they are behind the curve. They are way behind the curve. There are so many other counties in Pennsylvania that have a health department. And we are not a small county. We are behind the curve, especially when it impacts people of color. We hear now about the maternal mortality crisis that's disproportionately impacting women of color, who are 258% more likely to die during childbirth. We know that, mental health services or emotional support services are very much needed throughout our community. We talked about, within our own community, and you shared about what goes on in the Liberian community, but within the African American community also the stigma attached to receiving or being open to receiving counseling services. And Latina community as well. So there are so many issues that impact our community, and it's just disheartening to me that we don't have a health department or have never had a health department, especially now, again, we're finding out about how our lead is impacting our children, which ultimately has long-lasting effects. And I went to a meeting for this and was actually, a person from that represented the county at the time talked about the money. We don't know if we could do certain interventions because of the money. Although in the long term, it's going to take a whole lot more money having children that need early intervention and various other services. So they're behind the curve, and they need to kind of get it together quickly, please.
Can I say one more thing? I know we're running out of time. They are behind the curve, but on the other hand, I've worked with a lot of health departments across the country. Before I came to Hopkins, I worked at an association that worked with health departments in local communities. There's a lot of really bad health departments out there. So the idea that you're going to have a new one that you're going to put together with that you can decide what you want, as opposed to a lot of health departments are just set up because they got a grant and they're only doing one thing because that's all the money they have. So I think you guys have a super opportunity, but you got to push for it. You're right, to make sure that they put the money towards the things that you guys want. But like I was saying, I think the messaging has been pretty consistent across the county about mental health services and health disparities. Lots of people have been talking about that. So you have the floor. Take it and use it. And thank you again.
Thank you all so much.
I'm sorry, Doc. You have.
Two more things to encourage healthcare. Somebody and just have a countrywide healthcare on diabetes, hypertension, and people who have these conditions can be in churches and all over. And the other one is the replica of Philadelphia. Philadelphia have these health centers that have mental health services, dental service, pediatric services, and if you have what of those centers.
Wow, thank you everyone. Just very quickly, Delaware County, according to the American Community Survey, has a population of about 565,000 residents. And of that number, a little over 10,000 of those residents are foreign born. In Upper Darby, we have a population of a little over 83,000 residents. And of that number, close to 23,000 of Upper Darby's 83,000 residents are foreign born. That is significant. And that is why these kinds of conversations must be held. We must meet, we must converse, and we must talk, and we must be listened to. And tonight, hopefully, we will. And I hope, on behalf of the committee, you will go away feeling like you were listened to tonight as an expert, using that word. I think that's important that you know, and that hopefully something really good is going to come out of that. That it's just going to be Beth them listening to it, John Hopkins researchers listening to it, but the county council, the people that make all of the laws for Delaware County and all of the regulations and all the policies. So we say thank you to all our dignitaries there. We won't call our names, all protocols observed. We say thank you, Bill Kaplan, Ms. Patterson, Ms. Aisha, four facilitators, lead facilitators. We say thank you. We say thank you to the Liberia Radio News and Television Network. You were awesome.
Can we have everybody from John Hopkins coming back?
Certainly. With that permission, if they say yes, I'm saying certainly. But we want you to please like you want to just give your page quickly so people can like it.
All you gotta do on social media, LRTN,
LRTN, so that you can see this recorded. And when you go to our Facebook, please like it. Thank you all so very much for coming and joining us under the palava hut and participating in this wonderful conversation. We will do more as per the Vice President of the Liberian Association. Good job, Mr. Kaplan. So we have pretzels and paladas and plantain and water and pizza. So please don't let anything go home. Please eat some.
Zamba, Direction. No, 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 go.
D12 on the mix.
Look at them, oh, na, na. Look at them, look at them, see, they want me to go down. Look at them, oh, na, na. Look at them, look at them, they want me to go down. They can make it, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, yeah, 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 yeah. They can make it, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can make it, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. What for you shall see your face, yeah. So I'm not rushing, no. I'm not stressing, no, no. You can love me, you can hate me. That Papa God will do the blessing when you take it from me. Oh, no, no. That God will suck it for you too. Me, I'm not fighting when you stop it from me. That God reche. No, 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 go.
DJ12 on the mix.
Look at them, oh na na. Look at them, cheche pole them. Look at them, see, they want me to go down. Cheche pole them. Look at them, oh na na. Look at them, cheche pole them. Look at them, they want me to go down. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. What for you shall see your face, yeah. So I'm not rushing, no. I'm not stressing, no, no. You can love me, you can hate me. That Papa God will do the blessing when you take it from me, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no. That God will suck it for you too, yeah, yeah, yeah. Me, I'm not fighting when you stop it from me, yeah, 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 yeah. That God will stop it for you too, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Clip on money, go. I say, oh. Move from here, cheche pole, move from here, yeah. Move from here, sake pane, move from here, yeah. Move from here, come around, move from here, yeah. Look at them, look at them. All the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh, they want me to go down. All the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh na na, look at them. The cheche pole them, look at them. Oh, they want me to go down. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. Oh na na, you grab on a beat, eba, Nadia, na na, Clipper, oh yeah yeah. Why you want to bring me down? Hey, you know you can't bring me down. Oh no no no, no no no. Oh yeah yeah, yeah yeah. When I need oil, will you? Oh yeah yeah. When I feel lean, it will hurt. Oh yeah yeah. When I crack oil, it will eat. You swallow, Papa. Now your hair wagging, Papa. I said that your hair wagging, Papa. Hey, all the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh na na, look at them. All the cheche pole them, look at them. Hey, they want me to go. All the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh na na, look at them. Cheche pole them, look at them. Oh Lord, they want me to go. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. 1 2 step, DJ 1 2 step, dale reche, 1 2 step, DJ 1 2 step, dale reche, 1 2 step, DJ 1 2 step, dale reche, 1 2 step, DJ 1 2 step.
I go by the name of DJ Get Rich, y'all. One of LIB finest, the legend. Yo, I make people move like this. Right, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. You know we do a little something back home like this, y'all. Clutch it, clutch it, clutch it, leave my foot. Clutch it, clutch it, clutch it, leave my foot. This is a party song, y'all.
All the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh na na, look at them. Cheche pole them, look at them. Oh Lord, they want me to go. All the cheche pole them, look at them. Oh na na, look at them. Cheche pole them, look at them. Oh Lord, they want me to go. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, yeah yeah yeah. They can make it, oh yeah yeah.
to know in Herbie.
It was on, right?
It was.
And sorry, we are back on now. And one last question for you, Ms. Beth. What advice would you give to our audience out there in regards to public health or mental health? What advice would you give to the audience out there?
Well, I think there's two things. One is obviously taking care of yourself, and people define health in such a beautiful way about happiness, about their quality of life, and thinking about health broadly, taking care of themselves and asking for help to get services. The second thing is to have this voice that you all have tonight, which was so powerful, and make sure that you share that with these leaders as they're thinking about how they want to put their health department together. So I think the 2 points are take care of yourself and make sure your voices are at the table when they're putting the health department together.
And thank you so much for your beautiful contributions. Any words?
Yes, first I want to express my sincere thanks to you and to Johns Hopkins University for such a beautiful program this evening.